everyone. This is Vet Talk, and I'm your host, Sergeant Gonzalo Duran. Today's honored guest is Gerard Kassar, the New York State Conservative Party Chairman. Chairman, thank you for being here today.
Well, it's an honor. I must say it's an honor. I know of your work, I know of the group, and I know of your patriotism, so I'm glad to be here to be able to, share my thoughts with you.
Thank you for that, Chairman. And once again, the reason why it's such a great honor is we've had county chairmen here for the independent and the conservative. To have the state chairman, that's a big step for us. We appreciate it very much.
Well, I'm a Brooklyn guy.
Oh, even better.
And I was a chairman of the Brooklyn Party for many, many years. This opportunity I was the vice chairman of the state party, going back quite a while, but the opportunity to become the state chairman came about in early 2019 when the longtime chairman of the party, Michael Long, a former Marine, I might point out, and let me just say this, I'm going to now apologize for saying a former Marine because he would be enormously mad at me for calling him a former Marine, always a Marine. But he retired as the state chairman, and I was elected the chairman at that point, and I've been reelected twice since. Running again, I should hopefully be reelected in September. Party's fairly large. It's 153,000 members. We are active in all 62 counties in New York State. New York State has fusion voting, which really means that we play a major role in state politics because our votes are combined with the votes of whatever other party candidate we should endorse. So for argument's sake, if a Republican candidate who's running gets 100,000 votes on the Republican line and 15,000 votes on the conservative line, they have 115,000 votes. In other states, they would have 100 and they would have 15. And if somebody got 105 and was running against them, they would actually win even though you've got more votes. New York State is not like that, and because of that, we have 10 members of the House of Representatives that carry our endorsement, 4 of whom won because of the Conservative Party, and we have over 70 state legislators who carry our endorsement, and many of them won because of the Conservative Party. We have literally hundreds upon hundreds of local elected officials running from county execs to town council people that carry the Conservative Party endorsement. There are a number of those individuals who are registered conservatives, and in a few cases here and there, they just run on the Conservative Party line. But statewide, we get like 300,000 votes. We do support President Trump actively, heavily, and we will be endorsing him. We supported Lee Zeldin. We are very pro-military. We are, we consider ourselves a red, white, and blue, and wave the flag.
Well, you went over quite a detail regarding the state structure. But for those that may not know, the Conservative Party, what are the ideologies for the Conservative Party? So
smaller government, pro-law enforcement, less taxes, less government overall, an environmental policy that would take the view that keeping jobs is just as important as keeping the air clean. People need to work. People need to work. We have a, like I said, strong pro-military. I would consider ourselves on international affairs. I would say we take an America First view. So we definitely strongly support our allies, and we're very anti-communist, anti-socialist.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. Now that we know some of the structure, the ideologies. What I know about a year ago, I found out about the Conservative Party because I was going through the Bronx driving around and I saw a sign, Conservative Party. I was like, well, what does that mean? I looked it up and come to find out that the Conservative Party is unique in New York. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
We are unique in New York because of the fusion voting. There are other organizations that will say they're conservative parties in other states, and they're not associated with us. We would be more associated with the conservative movement, and the conservative movement in the United States is represented by what they call the American Conservative Union or Young America's Foundation. I actually was the national head of the Young Americas for Freedom as a young man during the Reagan administration, and I was actually the vice head in New York State of Citizens for Reagan, which was a group that actively lobbied for his policies. We weren't lobbying Congress. We were pushing his policies among the people. And these were all conservative-oriented groups, and I was at that point also active in the Conservative Party. But we are part of a national movement, but we are a political party, whereas in these other organizations are mostly not. And these other political parties that may exist, they're usually not all that powerful because frankly, the Republicans stay away from them because they only take votes away from them. Here it's the complete opposite. Here they won our endorsement because we can make a difference in a lot of elections. So that's what's unique about us. It's the fusion voting, which is allowed in New York State, and it's not a recent thing, fusion voting. Fusion voting has existed in New York State since like 1908. You've heard of the Liberal Party, which is now gone. You've heard of the Working Families Party. Those parties also, Working Families Party also has fusion voting. But the Conservative Party's been around since 1962, and several individuals like, like I said, Reagan, the Bushes, Richard Nixon for that matter, Donald Trump, have carried our endorsement.
Well, for the New York City, since we are broadcast in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, one of the big increases that we came across was Christine Marmorato and her victory, as she's a Republican that was endorsed by the Conservative Party, and she won by, let's say, don't quote me guys on this, but somewhere between 800 and 900 votes, whereas she didn't have the Conservative line, she would have lost by, let's say, 600, 700 votes.
That happens. It happens enough. But even if you don't have that difference, in other words, let's just say you're not. Let's take Nicole Maliotakis. Congresswoman Maliotakis has always had our endorsement. The first time we endorsed her for the state legislature, we caused a Republican that was going to primary her to drop out of the race. And she took the view, even though she won by more votes than our line, that we were the reason she got elected. And that carried through. Each election cycle, we would support her, and each election cycle, she would be very thankful for the endorsement. Besides the fact we get votes, in a way we're a good housekeeping seal of approval for that voter who wants to feel comfortable that they're voting for somebody, that there was an interview that took place and conservative issues were discussed. You were mentioning the Bronx. So in the Bronx, we have a chairman who I know does this show on occasion, Pat McManus, and Pat is very, very well versed in conservative issues and wants answers and asks candidates about that. So on that council race you were discussing, people knew they were getting a good conservative elected official if they voted for that person. And I like to feel that the Conservative Party around the state provides that level of assistance to a voter. I can't say it's universal, but I like to believe we do it as much as we can.
Now, going back to a little bit of Christie, not specifically her, but the Republican Party, the dynamics of the conservative and Republican dynamic. Can you speak about that?
Well, we're close. We're associated. We're allied. I was earlier today with the national chairman of the GOP, and Ed Cox. And some years we have more things going with them than other years. I will tell you, because of Trump and 2 years ago because of Zeldin, we've had a lot going with them in the last few years. But there are Democrats we support. So I'll give you, for example, in Brooklyn, there are several very conservative Democrats that are in the state legislature, running for the state legislature, or with that city council group that's called the Common Sense Caucus, which is Republicans and Democrats. So the Conservative Party will endorse Democrats here and there if they pass, you might say, our litmus test on issues. And so that's one dynamic. But we have a very close working relationship with the GOP. I'd like to think working together we provide a unified slate for the general public to consider.
Now, with that being said, I mean, we just said conservatives, Republicans, and Democrats. How would somebody, if they wanted to get, let's say, that interview or get more contact with the Conservative Party, how would they go about that?
Well, there are multiple ways. Some places, the chairman of the party and the county organizations are so active that everybody knows they're out there. But generally speaking, this is what I recommend. A person goes, we have very active social media, the New York State Conservative Party, an extremely active website. Person should go to our website, which is, you just go to New York State Conservative Party. I can tell you it's cpnys.org. But in all honesty, just Google New York State Conservative Party. It comes up, our site, our website, and at the very bottom, it says County Chairman and Executive Committee. Everybody's phone numbers are up there. We can't hide. If we hide, nobody's going to find us. So you can find, a person can find my cell phone number on that list. They can find all the leaders' numbers, the chairman, and that's who they should call. If for some reason somebody is reaching out and they can't reach a person, they should call our headquarters. Now our headquarters, and I'm going to give out a phone number, our headquarters is 718-921-2158. That's 718-921-2158. You call there, you're going to get me. I mean, I may answer the phone, but if I don't answer the phone, I'm going to take your call because I'm like,
busy.
I'm like,
busy.
but I will definitely get, I will definitely get back to somebody who calls, and then we will bridge that issue of how do you get a hold of the right person. But I'm going to still probably say the first thing you should do is go to that website, and if some reason they're not getting back, we'll call.
Gotcha. Now, going towards back to the county chairmans. Now, because I'm in the city, I consider, that's a downstate. I normally, Pat McManus has been the chairman for the Bronx County Conservative Party, and I've met a few of the other county leaders from different boroughs. To be honest, I never thought how big it really is. It's 50 or so counties that
we have, there's 62 counties in New York State. We're organized in 50 of them.
Okay.
There's 12 that are smaller, frankly. And there is one big one, Manhattan, frankly, that we're not organized in. And what happens is there's still a process. That process is the state headquarters, and we give the approval on the candidates in those areas there. Or if a candidate is like for Congress or something, and they're like, some of these candidates for Congress are in like 22 counties. I mean, there's a woman upstate, Elise Stefanik, she has something like 18 counties in her district. Wow. So there's very few congressional members that only have like 1 or 2 counties. So my point simply there is that the headquarters has a role, but you really should be talking to the local people. I believe a good political party operates from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Gotcha. So now we've delved in a lot of the structure and the personnel. Let's try to go back a little to legislative tactics. Now, the Conservative Party is on the ballot is the third party, but there is still a presence that you guys issue to try to make at least movements within legislative.
Well, I personally probably talk to every member that we have, the 10 of the congressional delegation, 3 or 4 times a month. I probably talked to them all in the last week. I talk primarily to the legislative leaders to give them the positions of the party, which are then announced at party conference. Every week there are multiple conferences of the GOP in Albany, I'm talking about of the elected officials, the Senate and Assembly, and if something is of significance that I want to have a discussion on, I will inform them what our party's position is. Additionally, they call us constantly. We have a counsel, an attorney in Albany. His name is James Curran. And James fields questions constantly on the party's positions on issues because they know we're going to do a rating, and they know that we will advise our local people what is going on in terms of Albany issues. But there's one other thing here. A lot of the Conservative Party people are community activists. And this could be something going on in their areas, and it's literally nothing to do with Albany. And I got to tell you, those elected officials who are endorsed by the party, they have to be careful not to end up on the other side of a zoning issue. I'm making this up, for argument's sake, the Conservative Party in New Rochelle, or something that's going on in Nassau County. Those local issues, it could be a sales tax issue. There's a big sales tax issue right now in Erie County. The Erie County Legislature, of which I know are members there. We have 5 members of that legislature. It's like 5 out of 15. They just recently got into a gigantic fight with the Democrats who took local control away from the people in Erie County. In Erie County, if you wanted to raise the sales tax, you had to put it on the ballot. They just yesterday, and they knew our position, our guys voted the right way, changed that so that the legislature, the Democrats, could raise sales tax in Erie County without having a vote by the people.
And if it wasn't for the Conservative Party stopping that, or
we didn't, we failed.
We failed.
We failed. We failed. But to your point, That one we might have failed on, but we don't always fail. And what's going to happen is they're not up for election this year again. They're up, I think, next year. That's going to be an issue, and we will run candidates. The Erie County Conservative Party will run candidates for all those spots, and hopefully it'll go from, are you serious? It's like 15 to 5, something like that. I could be wrong. It could be 14 to, but they're going to look to flip it on that issue. It's politics.
Would you go into maybe some victories that the Conservative Party has?
Easily. If you were to someday visit our headquarters, you would see there are big T-shirts on the walls that say Conservative Party, the majority makers. The only reason there is a Republican House is because of those members in New York State that won because of the Conservative Party. They were the margin of victory, and this was in the media, Newsmax and others covered it, so that the Republicans could declare a majority. If we did not do what we did in New York State, they would have fallen one vote short of being able to elect a speaker. So that's a recent major victory. I could tell you that George Pataki would never have been governor because he won on the Conservative Party line. He would have lost, and that was 3 terms. I could tell you that about all these legislators. I can tell you that Bruce Blakeman, the Nassau County executive, only recently got elected by the difference of the Conservative Party in line. And I could do a lot of counties like that. But it's not all, like I said, there are plenty of places where we supercharge the election. We're like the supercharger in my car when I need to move the darn thing on the highway from 60 to 75. We get behind a candidate, and that makes the candidate more likely to win, even if they didn't win specifically because of our votes. We have people. We volunteer. We do campaigns. I raise money. I spend money. People hear our. So here's the thing for the audience. If you're in New York City, you won't hear as much about us for one very simple reason. It costs a fortune. But I will tell you this: if you're in Dutchess County, you might actually call me up and say, "Why don't you quiet down for a while? You're on everything." So it really depends on where you are and what I can afford to do.
So then, contributing to the party would be helpful.
But whether it be the state party or the local parties, we are very, not poorly, but we're very light on staff. So basically all our money goes into the campaigns.
Okay.
We don't look to have staff. I mean, the whole headquarters staff is like 2 people. And I'm essentially, I'm there full time, I'm retired. I'm there full time, I ain't got paid. I don't get paid, so I take expenses, that's it. So what I'm saying to you is that I get $1, I put it into a campaign. There were people that went to a fantastic event we had last night, and we did well. That money's going to be used in campaigns.
And this is the 2024 election.
Yes.
Now, to digress a little bit, we had mentioned President Trump recently. What's that type of relationship with? Because he's.
So I happen to have a relationship with him. So here's the story, and it's not a complicated story. During the course of my career, I had different interactions with the real estate industry in New York. So I actually had some interaction with him before he was president. Not a lot, but with some association involved in. But here's the interesting thing. Donald Trump had friends that were active in the Conservative Party in Manhattan when he was a young man. Talking about a man in his late 20s, early 30s, and he used to go with his friends to Conservative Party functions. They were often held in Manhattan at the 7th Regimental Armory. And you could be at a dinner there, and there was this real estate developer named Donald Trump who was just hanging out with his friends, eating a piece of prime rib and having a beer. I mean, you wouldn't have thought twice about it, and many people have thought about it since. But he had an association with the Conservative Party going back a very long time. Now, what happened with me is that when I became state chairman, he's the type of guy, he called me to ask for the endorsement in 220. He called me in 219. He called me actually from Air Force One. He asked for the endorsement. I was thrilled that he thought, I said to him, I said, who do you think we were going to endorse? He says, well, I don't know, but don't you think it was the right, don't you think it was like a good idea for me to call? I said, no, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And it was like, he says, and then we talked. And to be honest with you, he does talk about a lot of other stuff. I reminded him, I knew him from the real estate industry, and we began talking about certain people. Now, here's the thing. He knew these people like they were his best friends. I knew them like they were up on a pedestal. And he's like talking. I said, I know what you're talking about, but I don't want you to think I know him. I just happened to be at that dinner. So that sort of thing. Since then, we've become closer. I speak to him on the phone. I spent the day at court with him. I went, he asked me to, his executive assistant, not his campaign, his executive assistant, I assume for him, texted me to ask if I could meet him. And I spent the day at court. There was a day in court where the judge was getting crazy and throwing people out and everything. But I spent like 12 hours with him. I've spoken to him a number of times, and I stay in touch. But I don't want to make that, this is the thing that your audience should know. There is a great misunderstanding about Donald Trump. The misunderstanding is that they don't appreciate, most people, that he's a really nice guy, that is easy to talk to, fun to be with, and shockingly is very available to get a hold of. And I'm saying he's busy, but you can get a hold of him.
Well, Vet Talk is sponsored by Devil Dog USA, and he actually was 2 blocks away from our office in the Bronx, in the South Bronx. So for him to come down there, and it's a big moment for us. I actually covered it in a story, and that was the first time I seen him do his whole speech. But on top of that, having a president come down to your area, that's a big deal that I never thought that I could see.
Well, I think he had that in his mind for some time. There is no part of America that Donald Trump fears. There's not a part of America that Donald Trump doesn't love. So I did not find that shocking at all. There will be a time as we get closer to the election where they have to make resource decisions about what states they're going to do to get him elected president. But he's not going to be a president for the 7 states to put him over. He's going to be a president for all America. That's what which is what we want.
So now you guys have your endorsed elected official. With this being the 2024 elections, I know congressional, state, and state assemblies, and I know for downstate, I'm assuming that you guys have your work cut out for you, not only in the downstate, but although
we have candidates running everywhere. I mean, the GOP and the Senate and Assembly need to the Senate has to win like 1 seat, and the Assembly, Republicans are running us 2 seats, or maybe 2 or 3, to what they call break a supermajority, which is relevant. It's actually relevant, and that's what we're working on. I would describe politics for us at this point as clawing back a little bit, but I also will tell you that the Democrats have put out that the liberal Democrats, the progressive Democrats. And I want to make that point. The Conservative Party can work with Democrats, but we can't work with progressive Democrats. Yeah. I would say so they got like that scratch pad out and we're crawling back on it like cats do.
Okay, that makes sense. And you guys have your line of where you balancing, because different people are in the different structures of conservatism.
Look, if there was a reason to believe that a Democratic elected official could further his cause, but let's say he's pro-Israel and he wants to further his cause, he's going to find more Republicans there that are interested in being pro-Israel than he's going to find in the Democrat. I mean, the Democratic Socialists are Democratic Socialists, and there's more and more of them.
So what would you say would be an ideal candidate for the Conservative Party coming up?
So all ideal candidates, regardless of whether there's public funding or not public funding, have to have certain characteristics. They should be active in their community. They should be articulate in terms of communications. I mean, there's different ways, but they should be generally articulate. They should be energized to ring doorbells, and they should fear no one. They should be willing to go out and work hard to win. And frankly, they should be knowledgeable issues, and frankly, they need to be able to raise some money.
Good. Those are all qualities that I see as veterans. One of the things that we partner with is the Bronx Veteran Political Party, which is a nonprofit that tries to gear veterans with the knowledge of trying to run for office by voter registration and different stuff like that. With that being said, what do you see as maybe some opportunities that not just maybe veterans or other organizations or individuals that might take up and say, you know what, maybe I want to join the Conservative Party?
I think first of all, I do think we actually, at least I will tell you as a Brooklyn chairman, I know Fran in Brooklyn and others that I know of, they would consider a veteran approaching them as a potential leg up on an endorsement. So, I mean, when I say, different characteristics, being a veteran would be a very big deal. Being in law enforcement would be a very big deal, too. So there's some law enforcement groups that are doing the same thing that you're talking about. We need more veterans. We need more law enforcement people running for public office, but we need them to be talking more issues than just the ones they're comfortable with. People who run for office need to think a little bit out of the box on who they are, to understand that they want people to know who they are, but they have to be like that, through osmosis. They have to be able to take things in and grow with that too. And hopefully, if people disagree with them or they disagree back and forth, that when it all gets sorted out, you'll end up with an elected official who will understand all sides of an issue. Look, if we were going to elect people that were going to just simply act as though they were taking a poll, they may as well just take a poll. You want stuff to go into a person's head and come out through their thought process. But a guy like me, about our platform, federal, state platform, you will see our positions on issues, and on the bottom, you'll see all our press releases. We do multiple statements a week. You will see on the bottom to click our county chairman, and that's what you should do, and you will find your county chairman on there with their phone numbers. If they don't give me their phone numbers, I don't put them on the list. They don't like that, but it's the way it works. I will put their phone number on the list. If I have their phone number, they don't want it on the list. It never comes off.
Gotcha.
So,
well, with that being said, Chairman, thank you for being with us today. For those out there that are interested on being on the show, please contact us at ceo@devildogusainc.org. And for those that are out there, just so you know, we're completing another year, so we're always looking for new guests. I want to thank our executive producers, J Empire Media and Vero G Productions, for another great season that they're coming in, and MMN for hosting us as always in our new home here. And as always, God bless America.
God bless America.